So hi everybody. My name is Sam Mizell. I'm a assistant professor at Boston University and a clinical psychologist. And I've been on the Gordis committee for 2 years now, and we're excited that you all are here.
And hey, I'm Elizabeth Avignon, assistant professor at LSU HSC in New Orleans. This is my third year, I think, on the Gordis subcommittee. And I went up for the Gordis Award myself a few more years ago than that. So happy to see so many people here.
Sandra, you want to go next?
Oh, sure. Thanks. Hi, Sandra Mooney. I'm an associate professor at UNC Chapel Hill. I work out of the Nutrition Research Institute. I'm a developmental neurobiologist and run a preclinical lab with a focus on prenatal alcohol exposure. Oh, and I'm new to the committee. I'm the incoming co-chair, I guess, of the Gordis Awards.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anusha Garkanis. I'm an associate professor at in the Department of Psychology at Binghamton University, and I'm the chair of the Career Development and Training Committee. And I think I've been in this position for 2 years, but I've served as a Gordis Award for 3 years before that, and I've been on the committee overall for about 5 to 6 years now.
So what we're going to do next is I'm going to share some slides that provide an overview of the history of the award, the application criteria. So hopefully the whole process is clear to everyone. And then afterwards, we'll just take time to answer any specific questions y'all have about the award itself. So the information about the Gordis Recognition Award. So Dr. Gordis was a former director of the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. And he received his training before that from his bachelor's and medical degrees from Columbia University. And then had an extensive career both at Mount Sinai Medical School and Rockefeller University. And after being the director from 1986 to 2002 for NIAAA, this award was created by RSA in collaboration with NIAAA to honor his legacy. The award is designed to recognize outstanding biomedical and psychosocial research amongst early career folks. And here we have our 2025 winners at both the postdoctoral as well as at the student level. So why apply for this award? So first and foremost, it's a great opportunity to showcase your work. Everybody at RSA knows about the Gordis Award. Being a finalist is just a great aspect of your CV to gain recognition. Even if you don't win the award, just putting down that you're a finalist, people both within RSA and the broader addiction science community know about the Gordis Award, so it can just be really beneficial for your career. And then related to that, it's a really useful tool to gain visibility and recognition. And I want to just talk a little bit more about what that looks like. So finalists have the opportunity to give oral presentations at RSA. So as I indicated on the first slide, and we'll talk more about, there's both a graduate student award as well as a postdoctoral award. And there are symposia for each of those levels where finalists have the opportunity in a designated symposia slot to talk about their work at RSA. And then on top of that, finalists are highlighted throughout the conference and on social media. So if you've been to RSA before, there's a special section of the poster hall that's very visible and front and center for the Gordis finalists, for their posters to be placed out. And then also we put out information on social media about our finalists as well. So all of this is to say that it's a really useful tool to get your name out there and people to know about you, which is always useful as you're moving up in your career stages. So just some background about the award itself and how it operates. So as I mentioned, there are separate awards that go to graduate students and also to postdoctoral fellows. A lot of the questions that we have historically received are in relation to kind of what are the criteria, the benchmarks for these two categories. So I'm going to go over them in a little bit more detail. So for postdoctoral fellows, you can't be more than 5 years past your PhD or MD at the time of the conference. And also your dissertation work cannot be presented for your postdoctoral fellow Gordis abstract and topic. And then to be eligible in the student category, your dissertation defense should have occurred no more than 6 months prior to the meeting. So basically, in essence, what this is saying is Gordis applications for the student category must be submitted while you're still in graduate school. Student merit or junior investigator awards that you might receive as part of RSA don't preclude you from receiving the Gordis Award. And you also have to present your research as first author during the RSA meeting. So just to say a little bit more about that, so each applicant can only present one application for the Gordis Award, and only one application can be submitted per abstract. So if you and a co-author are both co-first authors on the same abstract, you both can't individually submit the same abstract. So with respect to the research categories, we divide the applications into 3 broad categories. So first we have biological and preclinical. So a lot of this is preclinical animal models of alcohol use etiology and alcohol use disorder. We have psychological and clinical work, which is human-based research. And then the third category that we acknowledge is translational research. And these are studies that don't fall neatly into the biological preclinical or psychosocial clinical areas and these are studies that are designed to cross usual discipline boundaries. So examples of what these studies might look like they might include like laboratory and clinical components. They might include focuses on the same outcomes in both animal and human models, or translational work, moving an animal model into the human sphere. So what does the application itself actually involve? So the first component is a poster abstract. And what I will note is if you've ever submitted a poster presentation to RSA, this is exactly the same process for a normal poster presentation. The same required information and length. Even if you're submitting a speaker abstract for an oral presentation, you still have to submit for the Gordis Award poster abstract, and I'll tell you in a second why that's the case. The other thing that you have to submit as part of the Gordis Award application is an expanded abstract. This expanded abstract is 900 words. It gives you much more space to go through details pertaining to the introduction, methods, results, and discussion. And figures and charts should not be included. And just to go back to why we require both the poster abstract in short form and the expanded abstract is, at its heart, this is an award about science communication. So we want to be able to evaluate that both in short and long form. And when we judge applicants in terms of finalists, we are considering both the poster abstract in short form as well as that expanded abstract. So with respect to what else is needed for the application, this is only for graduate students. A letter including the applicant's advisor's email address and confirming that the applicant is still in graduate school is needed. This can be expanded to include your recent research activities if wanted. postdoctoral applicants do not need to provide us with this verification letter. So the evaluation criteria, there's several criteria that we go through and evaluate each applicant on. The first is originality. And here, what we are looking for is if the question is scientifically important and whether it's novel. Is this contributing meaningful information to the field that's pushing us in a new and interesting direction? The second criteria is significance, and significance is broadly defined by several factors, which include does the work have the potential to be impactful to the field? And we're also looking at things like scientific quality. So we are looking at the rigor of your hypotheses. Do your methodology actually allow you to test your hypotheses? Statistically, are you choosing approaches that allow you to test your hypotheses? Are you controlling for all relevant variables? Things along those lines. We are looking, again, as I mentioned, this is an award of science communication. We're looking for quality of the writing and clarity and organization. Are your hypotheses clearly stated? Your idea is clear, that we understand why you're looking at the question that you're looking at and why it's important with respect to the broader placement in the field. And the last thing we just want to note, we don't judge your CV. Your prior award, publication record has no bearing on the Gordis Award. We are just reviewing the materials that I mentioned so far. And also the finalist selection is done blindly. Us reviewers do not have access to your name, so it's a blind process. So if you are selected as a finalist for the award, there are a few things just to know. So the decisions are made in early to mid-March by the training committee, and finalists are required to present both a poster and oral presentation at RSA. So the evaluation criteria at RSA for finalists is actually slightly different for postdoctoral finalists relative to student finalists. Postdoctoral finalists are judged both for their poster presentation as well as their oral presentation. Graduate student finalists, they do an oral presentation, but they are not evaluated on their oral presentation. Only the poster is judged for student finalists. And typically, we award 4 awards, 2 postdoctoral and 2 in the student area. These awards and plaques are given at the RSA closing ceremony, which is a really nice opportunity just to, again, have your work be showcased and be recognized in front of the larger RSA community. So here we just have information with respect to where to submit the award. The deadlines coincide with the poster abstract deadlines for RSA, so that's January 31st. In a second, we will take any questions you have. You can feel free to reach out to Elizabeth, myself, or Sandra if you have any questions. The other thing that I just want to note are 2 of our winners from last year, Caitlin McManus and Ryan Sullivan, both graciously agreed to provide their contact information. So if anybody has any questions for them about the process or what it was like, you are welcome to reach out to them to ask them any questions you might have after this meeting or that you weren't comfortable asking during this meeting. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen, and we're interested to hear the questions y'all have for us. And you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or you can put it in the chat, whatever people are most comfortable with.
While people are thinking, one of the questions that we got from registrants before they joined was, is there anything that we prioritize, like reviewers looking, well, I think this was referring to an area of research. And for that, I would say there's no particular area that's weighted more heavily than any other. It would be more that if your research falls within a certain category, like bio preclinical or clinical or translational, it would be reviewed as such.
If there are no questions, we're not going to make people stick around for forever. But I guess, oh, one just came in. Okay, for the posters and talks, do the judges want to see full statistical statements for each test figure somewhere on the slide or poster? So that is a good question, and I want other people to chime in. And basically, as we mentioned, one of the things that we're evaluating is like the significance, which includes scientific rigor. And we essentially need enough information to evaluate, whether the statistical models were done appropriately. And that can look differently. So I guess more information is helpful, but people present their results in different ways with different figures. But as long as the information is conveyed clearly, so we as the reviewers can evaluate the quality and the appropriateness of the statistical methods, I think that's the most important thing. Do other people have thoughts or additions to that?
One thing I would add, especially as you're considering putting together your application for the award, like your abstract, is to include as much detail as you can in that as well. So what's the N, what sex, strain, species, especially if this is preclinical, and what kind of statistical test did you run? All of that is helpful.
Yeah, I would just like to add to that. So I think it's really important that you put the full statistical statements, and I'm assuming you're referring to F values and degrees of freedom and all of that stuff, the P values and stuff, all of that in your extended abstract, because we do expect to see stats in there. As far as putting it on your slides are concerned, I don't think you need the F values on the slides. It would be just like any other talk that you give, any other research talk that you would give at a symposium. Just make it clear wherever you have statistical significances.
And then the next question is, does the work need to be unpublished, or can it already be submitted for publication?
It can be submitted.
Yeah, I don't think there's any restriction on it.
It can be submitted. It can't be published. So if you're presenting something that was published 6 months ago, that's probably not the best idea. So if you have a paper that's currently in revision, which is super close to getting accepted by the end of December or sometime in the beginning of January, then 6 months later, that is probably not the best idea. But if you're submitting a paper right now, that's totally fine because it's not published technically.
So the question is, does the committee look for people who have been researching alcohol for a long time, or can people who recently started alcohol research have a good chance? So that's a wonderful question. Just something that we want to reiterate is, like, we do not evaluate your past record at all. Your CV is not considered. We are just evaluating your application itself. So if you've been researching alcohol for 100 years or for 1 year, it makes no difference in our books. So the criteria, please, the summary, I missed that, the earlier part. So I guess in brief, what I will say in terms of the criteria that we're looking for is we are looking for originality, so the novelty of the idea. We are evaluating significance, which looks at the importance of the question coupled with the rigor of the methods, the hypotheses, and the tests of said hypotheses. And then the last criteria that we evaluate is really the clarity of the writing as a whole, clarity of the hypotheses. So those are the broad pieces of information that we evaluate. So if that's it, we thank everyone for showing up. You're welcome to email us with additional questions or here's an additional one. Do symposium or roundtable submissions have a better chance than a poster submission. All right, so those, I think, if I'm understanding your question correctly, I think they're separate processes. So for the Gordis award itself, we evaluate your poster submission, both the short abstract as well as the longer abstract, and that process helps determine whether you're a finalist or not. And then if you are a finalist and you're a graduate student, your poster presentation is how you're scored. And then if you are a postdoctoral fellow, then your presentation and the poster are evaluated. If you are submitting for your talk for other things like a roundtable or as part of a symposium, that's separate from the Gordis Award and will have no bearing on your scoring or chance of winning for the Gordis itself. They're kind of separate processes. Okay, well, thank you everybody for attending, and we hope everyone has a good rest of their days.
Looking forward to reading your abstracts.
Thank you all.